There we go. God almighty. Yeah.
Call to order the President and Board of Trustees. Roll call, please.
Trustee Wojciechowski.
Here.
Trustee Benucci.
Here.
Trustee Lamb.
Here.
Trustee O'Rourke.
Here.
Trustee Peck.
Here.
Trustee Rassich. Mayor Collins.
Here, if we could rise for the pledge.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Presidential comments.
I only have one, and there's one of our staff. Congratulations to Scott Threewith. He is the graduate of the 2015 Illinois Public Service Institute Leadership Program. And I'm going to have Alan make the presentation.
Thank you, and I'll have Mr. Threewit come forward here. As the board is well aware, Mr. Threewit is our lead staff engineer here with the village. He's been with the village several years. He took the initiative to take the classes and pass the IDOT Bridge Inspection Program, and he's an IDOT Certified Bridge Inspector as well, to his credit as a professional engineer. Scott has taken this one step further too as well, by completing the 3-year Illinois Public Service Institute program, which is a one-of-a-kind program. It's really unique. It's custom tailored towards public works, and it's actually facilitated by Dr. Louis Bender, who the board has had the opportunity to meet. And Dr. Bender doesn't teach all the classes, but he organizes the speakers, the curriculum, and the different things related to the coursework. And he's a real inspiration to the program too as well. There are over 170 students in here, and tonight we just wanted to say congratulations to Scott as being a graduate of the 3-year program. So congratulations.
Thank you.
We'll do a picture. Come on over.
Congratulations.
Trustees' comments.
Alan, this makes, how many graduates do we have of the 9 or something like that? 9?
Yeah, we actually have 9 graduates of the program within the village, so we're very fortunate. The
Oh, very
program's been around for about 15 years. And it's an outstanding program, it is.
Well, and we get outstanding results from it too. As I've commented many, many times, you guys do a really great job, and this may be part of the reason. If it's one of the best training programs, you got 9 people who've gone through the program, we're getting impressive results, so we're testimonial to how well it works. You all are, not me, but you all are testimonial to that really works. So thank you for following through, Scott, among others.
I just had a comment, I'm sorry. We had talked briefly in the past about the idea of maybe looking at the right turns, and I know that's very capital intensive and it's going to be looked at with the capital program and those kinds of things. But I was wondering if the board was open to at least maybe looking at the other piece of that I was asking about, which is the timing or the cycling of the lights during peak times, to see if there's maybe small adjustments that we couldn't make to help the drivers or our daily commuters, getting to and from and back from work.
Mr. Persons has some comment, but I think you've been working on some detail, haven't you?
Yeah, we have, and the majority of the roadways do involve IDOT and other village roadways. So we'll continue to work on that, and we'll bring that information back. And as well as we're going to continue the discussion about the right turn lanes, do an analysis at least at one of the more problematic intersections, take traffic counts, and then bring that information back to the board to talk about what type of level of service improvement that would provide. But we'll continue to look at the timing as well.
Outstanding. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you've been looking at it for quite a while, and maybe one of the things that would help us understand what's going on is, what are the criteria for doing it? At a certain time of day, at 59, you want to make sure you get most of the traffic through. I mean, what is the basis for setting the timing? Do we have any ground rules for something like that? So maybe, we don't need it tonight, but if there are things like that, that might help the rest of us to understand the mechanism by which, 'cause it's not going to be a perfect world, but I know you've been working on it for years. The mayor's mentioned a number of times, and yeah, it's a high priority, but on the other hand, what can we realistically expect? What are the things that you adjust to try to, somebody's got to get sacrificed. The question is who and when, so.
The only thing on that exact topic is if you change the light timing for one road, it affects the other road. So are you just moving your problem down the street? So, you always have to consider that, because if you change it on Route 30 to a longer red for any other road, well then Route 30's backed up. So I mean, it's like a never-ending problem in a way.
And I guess, yeah, I'm sorry, the only observation I would make to that is sometimes when you're sitting at the red light, the other light is clear. So in other words, your light is staying longer than the other one while it's still maybe clear on Route 30, so it's not necessarily backing up. And I don't know, I'm not an engineer, but I was thinking maybe just looking at tweaking it a little bit, maybe to.
I travel down to Joliet quite a bit in the mornings, and I leave my house near Renwick Road, and if you hit one light, and I've done it almost morning after morning after morning, it takes 6 minutes to get to Shorewood, going through all those lights. So I mean, the timing there is wonderful, I guess, because I don't stop from Plainfield to Shorewood in the mornings.
I think a point of clarification, I guess, to make sure communication is sound then between board and staff. If there's any particular intersections, trust your work, that maybe you've had some residents complain about, that you think maybe Alan should take a close look at when he does that report and put everything together, maybe let staff know, so that way we're complete then once we do this, and it doesn't,
The intersections that I've heard about and the ones that I've experienced, just because where I happen to live, is really Route 59 and on the north side, whether you want to take 135th, 143rd, 127th, those kinds of, and I'm guessing it probably comes in down at Naperville Plainfield Road as well.
I think 127th and Route 30 was mentioned as well, and we're looking at that intersection as well.
Thank you.
Just like to say thank you to the members of the police department. They had a rather large seizure of heroin and cash, and as somebody who's seen the death and destruction that drug can do, I think, Chief, if you could personally thank those people for me and the collective board. They not only made Plainfield a safer place, they made the surrounding communities as well a safer place by that seizure.
I agree with Trustee Wojciech's comments. The worst thing you could do to somebody is give them heroin and get them addicted to that drug, and that is just a scourge on several communities. And Chief, thank you for all the work and involvement that our department may or may not have had during that investigation, and continue to go ahead and battle any heroin that's being distributed, in our community, as well as assisting others around us.
That brings up another question, though. One of the things that you spend periodically are forfeiture funds. Are we likely to see any funds from this particular seizure?
Well, it's actually just one part of a larger investigation. I can't speculate on that because there's a lot of moving parts right now. But anything we did potentially see would probably be at least a year, if not more years down the road. But it's actually part of a larger investigation that's ongoing. I really can't get into too many other details, but as you've seen just on our part, it's been very successful so far.
Thank you.
Are there any other trustee comments? If not, this will be the time for public comments. If there are no public comments, then we'll proceed with the business meeting. We're seeking a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the agenda. Trustee Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Trustee Benucci?
Yes.
Trustee Liam?
Yes.
Trustee O'Rourke?
Yes.
Trustee Peck?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries. We're seeking a motion to approve the consent agenda to include minutes of the board meeting held on October 19th and bills paid and bills payable reports for November Second.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Trustee Wajowski,
Yes.
Trustee Benucci,
Yes.
Trustee Lamb,
Yes.
Trustee O'Rourke,
Yes.
Trustee Peck.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries. Next item on the agenda is strategic planning proposal. We're seeking board consideration of a motion to approve the proposal from Dr. Lou Bender to facilitate the Village of Plainfield strategic planning process as outlined in the attached proposal and related addendum for the total cost of $8,300.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions on this item?
One of the things that's occurring in meeting one is to review the state of the village and major trends. We talked last time about looking broadly at major trends, and maybe that could be brought to a committee of the whole before we meet with this particular session with Dr. Bender. I'm looking to see how broadly we can go, macro trends or something like that, in addition to things that directly impact us. That may stimulate our thought process. And so a little bit more soak time, if you will, to address that, I think might make us more efficient when we actually talk about it on day one of the meeting with Dr. Bender.
Good suggestion. I'll be sure to throw that idea to Dr. Bender. I'm sure we can make that come together.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions? Not, the motion was made and seconded to approve the proposal from Dr. Lou Bender to facilitate the strategic planning process for the total cost of $8,300. Trustee Wajowski,
Yes.
Trustee Benucci,
Yes.
Trustee Lamb,
Yes.
Trustee O'Rourke, Trustee Peck. Thank you. That motion carries. Next item on the agenda is Community Christian Church. We're seeking board consideration of a motion to adopt ordinance number 3240, approving a special use for religious assembly, religious institution, and allowing an indoor recreation for the property commonly known as 24035 West Riverwalk Court.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions on this item?
One comment, I missed the audience of Blue out there. We had like 100 people here last time when we addressed this. Now we're officially doing it, and they're not here. But it's getting done anyway.
They just expect you to do it anyhow.
Are there any other comments or questions? Not, the motion was made and seconded to adopt ordinance number 3240 regarding Community Christian Church. Trustee Wajowski,
Yes.
Trustee Benucci,
Yes.
Trustee Lamb.
Yes.
Trustee O'Rourke,
Yes.
Trustee Peck.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries. Administrator's report,
No report tonight.
Management Services report,
No report.
Engineers report,
No report.
Planning Department report, Building Department report, Public Works report.
Public Works report. Yes, we have a few things on the agenda for this evening, and I will move quickly, but be happy to answer any questions. The first thing that you'll see is related to the snow plowing contracts. The village did receive applications. We did publish within the Joliet Herald and the Enterprise too as well. We accepted applications from area contractors and reviewed their qualifications. The contracts did change from the previous year, and we did actually get some very good responses. And this is as per our discussion last week. We had a more extensive discussion, quite extensive discussion, I think, last week about snow removal, and I did get the chance to go over some of these items, and I know I answered a lot of the questions. But in that, if I can draw your attention to the third page, which we have the memo, the overall standard operating procedures, and then the sheet that states 2015-16 Plainfield Snow Removal Contractor Summary Equipment List. If you look at this, these are all the contractors that staff feels are qualified to complete the work, have shown good performance in the past, and will be, in our eyes, reliable here in the future. It does list the pieces of equipment along with the operators that are committed just to the Village of Plainfield if needed during a snow event. Now, if you total these items up, there are 26 plow trucks with the ability to salt the roadways in total. There are 23 loaders, and I know this was a item of concern as far as cul-de-sac cleaning is concerned. Keep in mind the village, as big as we are, we do have 24 pieces of equipment that can remove snow plows. But we only have 4 loaders. We have 2 big loaders and 2 medium-sized loaders. This would bring the total number of loaders at our disposal up to 23. And all in all, there are 55 pieces of equipment that would be committed towards the village of Plainfield. This would more than double our forces that we currently have within the village if needed. Now, that being said, the contractors only get paid for the actual hours that they work. So, you know, keep that in mind. That's the way the contract's written. If it doesn't snow this year, which on a day like today, you could guess that maybe it won't, then we wouldn't have the need to hire any of the contractors in the village, would not pay anything. But as we do get events and we pull these contractors online, that they would be paid as per the rate quoted within the end of this document. And I did include the rate sheet from each one of the contractors, which is identical because we did set the prices, with the exception of Beisch Excavating, which would be an emergency alternate contractor that we would only use in a drastic emergency. They're not a landscaping company. They're an underground water and sewer company. They have highly skilled long-term workers there, and their rates are just slightly higher. Now, I say that, but if you look back to their rates from last year when they did help us out towards the end of the blizzard, this is in essence the same prices that they had provided. So it's not like there's any price gouging or anything like that. But we would only use this contractor in an emergency. But the other 6 we would use on a regular as-needed basis. I did include one completed contract from K&D Enterprises, just to give the board an idea of the amount of work that the contractors have to complete, the detail they have to complete. Page 5 has all the equipment, the years, the type of equipment, the size that they have to include. They have to affirm that they have the experience and they have the equipment dedicated to the community. They have to include reference sheets, which we do check as well. And then there are all the other clauses in there that they have to follow as far as performance is concerned. So with that, staff is recommending the approval of these contractors listed as qualified contractors to be utilized for the coming snow season, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I just had one question, and you indicated as needed, which I think is great. Typically, in the past, does staff able to meet most of our typical needs, or do you normally supplement that with outside contractors?
If it's a normal, and I think this is a good balance, if it's a normal salting operation, we can take care of the entire community. And we all agree that freezing rain, when it occurs, that it can be a safety issue. So we have sufficient trucks and snowplows and salt spreaders to cover the entire community in an icing operation. Once we get an accumulation of more than 4 inches, 5 inches of snow, that's when we really need the assistance from our contractors. So there are smaller storm events that we can handle in-house, but more importantly, we can handle an icing event in-house.
Thank you.
You probably do the cul-de-sacs with some of the additional equipment because you don't have enough to do that yourself, so. But it's very complete, nice, included the K&D one because it shows the complexity of the contract and all the effort that went in. I think it's very well done. There's a notable missing one from last year, which I assume was for whatever reason, which is good. So we're got 6 good people that I'm sure will work well with us. So.
Recommending the most qualified contractors, yes.
Good.
I agree with Trustee Lamb's comments. If there's a problem, the problem needs to be eliminated, and I think we've done that. I've had some residents ask me some interesting questions. One of the most common about the snow removal is, why doesn't the village just buy all the equipment? Well, when I look at this list, these capital assets, I'm just going to throw a number out there. Is this over $2 million worth of assets that they have on standby? Do you have a rough number?
Definitely, I'd say in the $3 million range.
Plus maintenance, then plus staff time in order to operate them, house them, and we're not paying for these unless we use these. So this is definitely the right way to go, and that's what I've conveyed to the residents that have mentioned that to me and asking why we don't just buy all these. So thank you for all the hard work. I definitely look forward to seeing the performance of our current contractors going into this season. So thank you, Alan.
I move that we approve the recommendation of the 6 contractors and 1 emergency contractor for snow removal for the 2015-16 winter season.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Trustee Wajowski,
Yes.
Trustee Benucci,
Yes.
Trustee Lamb,
Yes.
Trustee O'Rourke,
Yes.
Trustee Peck.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries.
Second item is related to just general maintenance and assistance from other entities. As the board is aware, the board recently passed an intergovernmental agreement with Plainfield Township and Wheatland Township, and we actually had the highway commissioner from Naosay Township reach out to us and said that he would like to be included too, and we thought it was a great idea. So we're bringing it back to the board, and it is the same document that you had seen before related to Plainfield and Wheatland Township. We share assets as needed, and it could be during a snow event, or it could be other maintenance events. And we both will track our hours and then make sure that it's happy to answer any questions, but we recommend approval of the agreement with the Naosay Township Road District.
I move we approve, we authorize the village president to execute the intergovernmental cooperation agreement with Naosay Township Road District.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Trustee Wajowski,
Yes.
Trustee Benucci,
Yes.
Trustee Lamb,
Yes.
Trustee O'Rourke,
Yes.
Trustee Peck.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries.
Sorry, can I just make a comment on that, just so that people watching or the audience, the important part that I learned, and maybe not everybody's aware of, but the compensation piece. So while it is an intergovernment agreement, and it's a very efficient way to utilize resources, there is also reimbursement from the requesting party as far as cost for those services involved. So, thank you.
Ways for instance, we did sweep streets in both Wheatland and Plainfield Township, and our employees logged the amount of time for that work. And there's some other things that we've assisted with, and we anticipate that there'll be other things that the township will assist with too as well. But we'll make sure to keep that balance.
Thank you.
Yeah, next item that I have is actually a cost participation request from IDOT. As the board is aware, 119th Street and Route 30 is a challenging intersection at times. There have been some accidents in that area. IDOT recognizes that. That's within the 5-year plan to be improved with a wider intersection, traffic signals at that location, some pedestrian accommodations for the future out there because there aren't any connecting pathways, but we anticipate that there will be. Since this is out of the village's jurisdiction, all IDOT is requesting in participation is that we participate in the emergency vehicle preemption device. So on each one of the traffic signals within town, the police department or the fire department can activate the lights and make them turn green when they want to go in that direction, and that IDOT doesn't typically pay that cost. Typically the village will pay that cost, so they're asking for us to at least commit to paying that cost. We usually take this after it's paid, and then we invoice the fire department, and they share in half the cost. So that's in essence it. Hopefully this improvement will come within the next couple of years, but that's the level of commitment is a total of $6,900. But that I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Said the intent is to invoice the fire department for that. Definitely a good safety device to have, so I would strongly support we do this. I move that we sign the concurrence letter regarding the project scope and EVP costs for the IDOT project P91-145-12 traffic signal installation at US 30 and 119th Street.
Second.
That motion's been made and seconded. That was at a total cost of $6,900. Trustee Wajowski,
Yes.
Trustee Benucci,
Yes.
Trustee Lamb,
Yes.
Trustee O'Rourke,
Yes.
Trustee Peck.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries.
Next item that I have is related to Route 30. As the board is aware, Route 30 is coming along pretty smoothly on the section that's closest to Route 59, so just south of Route 59. The concrete's been installed and that work's been completed. Since there were various contractors in there as far as utilities are concerned, over 5 different utility companies in there, and directional drilling and augering has become very popular. As a policy over the past 10 years, what the village will complete is we will televise the sanitary sewer lines shortly before the concrete or final surface gets installed. So just in case someone went through a sewer line, you really don't want to find out about it after the concrete's been poured. Trust me, you know, that is not a good situation. So initially, we contacted Sheridan because of their equipment. They have the ability to clean and televise the line, and then actually they launch a camera from the main sewer line, and it travels up the service line, and it inspects the service line for each one of the houses. When they completed this work, when they started this work, and this was about a week before the concrete went in, they discovered that one of the lines had been collapsed. So it had been disturbed by someone. We don't know who that someone is at this point, but it did take more work than was anticipated to clean the line out, to make sure it was repaired, to clean the sewer line out, and then we televised it again because we like to do check, and double check before we, you know, we're investing, or the state's investing many millions of dollars on that project, and we of course don't want anyone to be out of sewer or water service. So with that, this is an emergency repair. If the board approves this, which I anticipate that tonight, this will be resubmitted to IDOT. It could land under a contingency fund, but they've agreed to work with us and try and determine how how it had occurred. So it's gathering information from their inspector. But we didn't feel, this is our contractor, we didn't feel that they should be held hostage based on the evaluation, which could take several months. So with that, staff's recommending approval of this expenditure, and I'll be happy to answer any questions related to it.
The amount of that collapse line, just for the general public, how much does that cost to fix on average?
Yeah, for this one, $5,000–6,000 in that range. You know, but it's the based on the material, the amount of debris. When you have a line that collapses and you're trying to jet it, you're just pulling more material into the line, and it takes more work. And then again, we kept them there until they televised it again.
And that's not to say that there's any roadway on top of it. The price would go exponentially higher if they lay the roadway and then it's discovered.
Definitely. And it's, I don't care who you are, public works guy or not, it is painful to cut brand new concrete and replace the sewer line when it should have been discovered ahead of time. So that's our policy, to televise everything beforehand. So everyone on Joliet Road, Route 30, whatever we want to call it, has a nice working sewer. And that's a good report, I think, from Public Works. It's good to have a nice working sewer. So, but that was the expense, to make sure that it was in good condition, taken care of.
I move that we approve payment to Sheridan Plumbing and Sewer in the amount of $16,562.50 for emergency cleaning and inspection of the Route 30 sanitary sewer mains and services.
Second.
That motion's been made and seconded. Trustee Wajowski,
Yes.
Trustee Benucci,
Yes.
Trustee Lamb,
Yes.
Trustee O'Rourke,
Yes.
Trustee Peck.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries.
Last item that I have, and I apologize, this got added to the agenda on Thursday, but of course it was noticed to the press and everyone related. The staff had a meeting with the Canadian National in the afternoon on Thursday to talk about the 135th Street pedestrian crossing. And as the board is aware, the pavement's been installed, the ADA compliant ramps and tactile devices have been installed, the signs have been installed, the concrete curbing out in the center has been installed, but the asphalt stops short of the tracks on either side. Even the striping's been completed out there. I mean, it really does look impressive. We had a meeting with Canadian National, and we were under the impression that they would be there at any time. And in fact, when they gave us the permit over a month ago, we believed that they would work concurrently at the same time with us to get the project completed, but that didn't happen. So in our meeting with Canadian National, and this was the first time that we were made aware, their legal department has given the construction crew direction that they can't start work until this addendum is approved. And this is not something that staff could take to the mayor or the board without having a board meeting to vote on, because it is an agreement. Now, that being said, if we look back very quickly, the $180,000 federal grant was approved and accepted by the board in 2013. After that, there was a license agreement in March of 2015 that was approved by the board, and it states that the village is responsible for all costs associated with the installation and the maintenance of the improvements that are going to be provided. So it was our understanding that we were responsible for all costs anyway. The grant was going to cover that. And then, as per the ICC agreement, it states that 50% of the cost is to be paid by the Railroad Grade Protection Fund, which is a different fund and a different grant. I'm not trying to read too much into this, but I believe that the CN was concerned that the original license agreement wasn't consistent with the ICC order, and that they just want to make sure that there's that consistency. All that being said, the grant money covers the cost, regardless of the railroad promises to pay half, we pay half. They're going to achieve part of that grant at the same time. So this isn't a freebie on the railroad side, and I'm not trying to beat up on them, but we're just trying to keep this project moving forward. So that being said, once this amendment is approved and Mayor Collins signs it, then the crews will come out and finish their work, and we can finish our work too as well. And I know I told you more than you probably ever wanted to know, but the grant money's there, and the project it's been 2 years, and this project needs to be completed. So,
Move that we approve the First Amendment to the agreement on the crossings on 135th Street.
That motion's been made and seconded. Trustee Wajowski,
Yes.
Trustee Benucci,
Yes.
Trustee Lamb,
Yes.
Trustee O'Rourke,
Yes.
Trustee Peck.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries.
I have one thing to note too, and I should have mentioned it, the estimated cost, the $112,000, is the total cost, so it is half of that estimated cost. So the board's motion was correct in adopting the amendment, but just for the public and the press, it is half of the $112,000. Again, it's all covered by the grant. So thank you. I've talked enough, and thank you.
Alan, can I ask you a question? I'm sorry. Regarding that concrete you described that went in the middle there, is there going to be any type of reflective material or paint applied to that area? Because at night it's very dark, and it could be somewhat dangerous for the motorist.
Concrete cures, and this is a great week, it'll probably be towards the end of this week, the inside edge of the curbing and the top, probably 4 or 5 inches wide, will be painted bright yellow. And we'll evaluate to see if there are any other reflectors that may need to be installed. But
Thank you.
they'll be installed before winter season, definitely. That's all I have.
Police Chief's report.
Thank you. I just have one item on the agenda. I'm seeking board's approval to purchase a 2016 Ford Escape from Rod Baker Ford, and also the equipment that would either go in it or be installed into it for a total price of $21,570.50. This vehicle in the current budget was actually earmarked to go to community service officers. However, in the course of the last few months, a additional position, full-time position, has been made available by the village for code enforcement officer. And the vehicle that person's driving is an older, very older model vehicle. It's a 2003 that was actually a hand-me-down from other parts of the police department. And that vehicle is starting to experience a lot of mechanical problems, and it's going to be costly to fix. So in lieu of providing a vehicle to a community service officer, we would like to basically purchase a vehicle for our code enforcement officer. Our community service officers would not be left out in the cold, though. We do have vehicles that are being replaced in patrol that would come down to them that still have many miles of usage left in them. So I would be seeking from the village board the purchase of a 2016 Ford Escape. And the other thing I should mention is this would also be in line with us trying to standardize our fleet. When I became chief years ago, we really had vehicles from all different makes and models. And over the last few years, we've been trying to standardize our fleet. So this vehicle would be in line with previous vehicles we've bought, of this make and model. So I would be seeking board's approval to purchase a 2016 Ford Escape for the low bid from Rod Baker Ford of $19,977. We call it emergency equipment, but it's actually amber lighting and that would go in the vehicle for $883.50. The installation of $500 and the design or the markings on the outside of $210 for a total of $21,570.50. And I would be seeking board's approval on that.
I move that we approve the purchase of a new 2016 Ford Escape from Rod Baker Ford, along with emergency equipment from 3 different suppliers for a total cost of $21,570.50 for use by the Police Department's Code Enforcement Section.
Second.
That motion's been made and seconded. Trustee Wajowski,
Yes.
Trustee Benucci,
Yes.
Trustee Lamb,
Yes.
Trustee O'Rourke, Trustee Peck. Thank you. That motion carries.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Sorry, I always have questions. I thought there was a period in between the motion and the vote to be able to do that. I think Trustee Wojciechowski, or you had made mention before about the idea of maybe leasing vehicles in the future. Have we ever looked any more in depth into that idea? I don't know.
We have looked at it as a possibility. However, we have a very good habit of passing down our vehicles within the organization. So leasing isn't necessarily an option that works well with the way that we do our vehicles. As well, one of the benefits of doing a lease program is cash flow timing, but our cash flow position is such that leasing a vehicle isn't necessarily an issue. As well, we do a very good job of taking care of our vehicles and like I said, passing them down for other uses. As the chief mentioned, one of our vehicles came from investigations, which we moved into for various other uses. So we try to make sure that we extend the life and get the most out of that capital before we get rid of them.
The other question I had, we talked about in the past about the auctions and those kinds of things, and maybe if there was a potential different option that might open it up more to local residents being able to take advantage of some of those sales.
We were able to do a little bit more homework on the service that we do use. It actually is available for the general public. However, they just need to make sure that they are registered in advance of that to be able to make bidding available so that they can bid on vehicles. So it is
Is that
available.
something we would kind of add to our website or something if we knew it was coming up? Or
Certainly when we make an announcement of the when we're sending stuff to auction, I'm sure we can do something through Facebook or whatever forum.
Thank you.
Attorney's report.
No report this evening, thank you.
Reminders.
November the 4th will be coffee with the mayor. The 9th will be our next committee of the whole. Our offices are closed for Veterans Day on the 11th. And November 16th will be our next village board meeting.
We're seeking a motion to adjourn to executive session as permitted under the Open Meetings Act under Section 2C6 to discuss the setting of a price for sale or lease of property owned by the public body, not to reconvene.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Trustee Wajowski,
Yes.
Trustee Benucci,
Yes.
Trustee Lamb,
Yes.
Trustee O'Rourke,
Yes.
Trustee Peck. Thank you. That motion carries.